Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm Tiffany, a retired librarian turned homeschool mom. And in this video, we're going to be looking at the cookbook that I have chosen for Caroline. So this is, I'm going to get this back up. The old, let me get back to the title, our table of contents. The old Sturbridge Village Cookbook. Authentic early American recipes for the modern kitchen. So, and I'm not familiar with back east. So this is I think it's Connecticut, no, Massachusetts, where you have, it's similar to Colonial Williamsburg, only it's in Massachusetts. And they're the ones who created this cookbook. I chose this because this will actually give you modern recipes. So, as opposed to everything else that I look at. And it is at least based on one of the books that I have looked at. If I can find this, where is it based on? One of the first American cookbooks, which was the American Frugal Housewife. So it came out in Boston in 1829. So this was one of the earlier cookbooks that Americans would have used. Now, a lot of these recipes, of course, she would have gathered and were designed and had been going on for a long time. And yes, Caroline, though she's, again, I'm not familiar with back east. I would consider New York, New England. It was part of the original 13 colonies, but again, I've lived out west my entire life. I don't know these things. I've been to DC for 48 hours starting with my Peace Corps. I was briefly in New York across the Niagara River to look at a cemetery during my honeymoon. That is the closest to New England that I have ever been. The closest to the American South, besides Louisiana, Florida, and Georgia. That is where I've been. And Texas, but again, that's complicated. But nonetheless, that is where this book comes from. So it gives both recipes for working over an open fire. If you're doing this for your small children, do not work over an open fire. Don't do that. I don't think I want to work over an open fire. Thank you. But it will give you modern recipes. So I will say it's a bit of a pain in the butt to get through. I'm scanning through it now on my tablet just because it's not easy to get to the recipes. So it is giving menus, which I didn't see when I was looking through last night, but nonetheless, it's not as easy when it comes to table of contents stuff to get through. So she does do, I'll go through some, it does talk about hearth cookery, which is working on the open fire, and common cooking. It talks about vegetables, and she does state they like their vegetables very, very mushy. I will give, this is directly from the book. Put in no green vegetables till the water boils. If you would keep all their wheatness, Weetness. So I have no idea what that. What the heck does that mean? And is this a word? No, it is not showing up what the heck this is. Now again, this is direct quote. Asparagus should be boiled 15 to 20 minutes. Half an hour if old. Ew. Beets need to be boiled an hour and a half. Beet chops should be boiled 20 minutes. String beans should be boiled for 20 minutes to 60. That, ew. So yeah. This is from the American Frugal Housewife that came out in 1832. So, and there's a note. Vegetables today are preferred crisp, tender, rather than boiled to rags, as they would be in Miss Child's instructions were followed to the minute on the stove. Yeah, so she does give better instructions. It's like, don't boil asparagus for more than 15 minutes. My opinion is don't boil them at all. Bake them. And I prefer most of my vegetables baked anyway and steamed, and I'm not fond of boiled vegetables. Neither would your children. Um, so she also goes into, there's some various soup recipes. There's beef stew, there's beef soup, fish chowder, clams with broth, gourd soup, turnip soup, onion soup, winter vegetable soup. Then it starts talking about meats, and different meats in different episodes. And it does talk about puddings and herbs and common pies and common cakes, breads and yeast and preserves. It does give sources for the different ones, and it does give metric conversion tables. So this is definitely an interesting book. I would say this is for the older kids. This is the closest I could get if without going into Colonial Williamsburg, which we did already with Felicity. So it was very, very hard for me to find something for Caroline. So it was very much a pain in the butt. This was the best I could get. And I'm not going to go through all of this. It is interesting. I like the fact that they give both modern cooking styles and old cooking styles, and they do involve the old cooking methods, so it involves that history, which is really important to me, particularly when I'm reviewing stuff for the history using these American Girl dolls. So, because they're the books that are made for the dolls, which of course Caroline does not have, because she is the last doll that had 6 books. She has just her mysteries, her 6-book series, and the Journey book. So those are all that she has. So she doesn't have any short stories. She doesn't have anything else. I think she has one of the coloring books, but that is it. And I'm not covering the coloring book because it's silly. So this is probably, again, the best that I can find that would suit these purposes. I do recommend this. It does contain the history. It is not entirely child-friendly. The other closest thing you could get, which it doesn't entirely would fit this, would have to do with Little House on the Prairie. So Laura Ingalls Wilder, which doesn't fit this. It might fit Kirsten, but Kirsten has a cookbook. So we're not going there, not to mention Kirsten's Swedish. And I'm not going into Laura Ingalls Wilder. That's a whole different kettle of worms, and I haven't read those books. But nonetheless, this is a good book if you're looking for historical cooking that also has the historical information. Again, it is for New England, but in this case, New York, as far as I know, New York would be considered New England. Caroline isn't exactly in New England, but close enough. And she would have been cooking similar stuff to this. The ingredients might have been slightly different, but nonetheless, it would have been close. In fact, Felicity might have been doing some of this as well, though she was in the American South, in Virginia. So, which I think is the northern part of the South. Again, I'm not familiar with New England or the first American colonies. I've never been back there again. I was in Georgia, which, yes, was in fact part of the American colonies. But I also wasn't, the last time I was in Georgia, I was in my early 20s. I wasn't paying attention. Before that, I was there when I was 12. So, again, my lack of information. So that is really it for this video. If you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe. I am covering Caroline this month. We're moving into Josephina next month. And then and that would be New Mexico just after the first Mexican Revolution. So just when they originally broke from Spain. And then we're heading off to the 1850s in New Orleans and looking at Cecile and Marie Grace, who were upper class African Americans at that time. Then we're jumping to Kirsten, who was my child doll, who was in Minnesota around the same time. We're talking the 1850s. And then we're going to jump into our slavery, which is Addie. And that is the 1860s before jumping all the way into the future, into Samantha in 1904 or 5. I can't remember. So if you like what you see, be sure to like and subscribe, and look forward to seeing more. Thank you.